Did you know that humans only use 10% of their brain? That's completely false, yet a shocking number of people believe it, simply because it's been repeated so often. But really, that's exactly how misinformation works. Repetition rewires your brain. Familiar means true. The more a false claim shows up in your feed, in conversation, in headline, the more real it feels. This video reveals the powerful cognitive tricks that make you believe lies, even when you know better. We'll show you how false information hijack your memory, emotions, and your trust in authority. If you also bought that 10% myth, this video is for you. Subscribe now so you don't miss more videos like this. First, a quick distinction. Misinformation is false information shared by mistake. Disinformation is false information shared deliberately, often for profit or politics. In 2025, fact-checking groups like NewsGuard argued that even the word misinformation has become politicized and vague. They've started using a simpler term, false claims. That shift shows how messy this problem is. Even the definitions are contested, which is exactly why it is vital to understand how the brain treats these so-called false information. So let's start with the first trick your brain falls for: repetition. Your brain is built for shortcuts. Psychologists call them heuristics. They save energy, but they also open doors for lies. Take the illusory truth effect. A study in cognitive research in 2021 found that when people heard a false statement repeated up to 27 times, they became a lot more likely to believe it was true. That's according to Hassan and Barber from Colorado State University. Here's the science. Repetition activates memory networks in the hippocampus. The brain treats familiarity as a marker of accuracy. Because checking every claim is costly, it defaults to, if I've heard it before, it's probably right. Grignolio and his colleagues, 2022, found that fake news doesn't just mislead, it actually activates the brain's reward centers, including the nucleus accumbens and the ventral tegmental area, especially when it feels novel or socially relevant. That burst of dopamine gives us a little hit of interest, which makes the familiarity feel pleasurable and safe. And that's why propaganda works. It's why rumors survive debunking. It's why lies told often enough, from weapons of mass destruction to vaccines change your DNA, sink into public consciousness. But repetition alone doesn't explain the wildfire spread. For that, you need emotion. In 2018, a study in Science by Vosugi and colleagues analyzed millions of tweets. False political news was 6 times more likely to spread than true news, mainly because false news provoked stronger emotional reactions. And there's newer evidence too. A 2024 study in cognitive research found that people already in a negative emotional state were far worse at distinguishing between true and false stories. Emotion clouded their judgment. Here's the sequence. The amygdala, your brain's alarm bell, fires within milliseconds. Only later does the reasoning center step in. By then, the urge to act, to share, to comment, to get outraged is already underway, and that matches findings from neuroscience. When content is surprising or emotionally charged, the brain's older reward and salient systems are more active, which primes us to share and believe before we evaluate deeply. That's why we forward shocking headlines before fact-checking. Emotion outpaces reason. Now, let's talk about one of the sneakiest tricks: authority bias. We're more likely to believe something if it sounds expert, even when it isn't. A recent report from Williv Security in 2025 found that deepfake doctors on TikTok were using realistic avatars, confident delivery, and medical backdrops to promote sketchy wellness advice. Viewers saw a face in a lab coat, heard a professional-sounding voice, and, by default, assumed it was credible. Pair that with the brain trick we discussed earlier: familiarity through repetition, and false advice gains an unfair advantage. And it's not just TikTok. According to MIT Media Lab, non-experts often rated AI-generated medical responses just as trustworthy as real doctors, even when the AI was inaccurate. That's from their 2023 project on AI and health misinformation. Grignolio notes that when people evaluate source credibility, is this person trustworthy, the brain activates regions like the anterior cingulate cortex, the insula, and the inferior parietal lobule. But under high emotion or group identity, those systems get overwhelmed, reducing accuracy. So false facts, wrapped in authority cues, delivered with confidence, presents a belief cocktail that's hard to resist. If you're finding this useful, hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and tells me to keep making more videos like this. Now, back to the story. This isn't just theory. These tricks are happening right now, more so in the political scene. In Scotland, researchers documented Iranian-linked bots amplifying pro-independence content in mid-2025. These false narratives spread rapidly across social media, influencing public discourse and reaching millions. In health, misinformation has life and death consequences. According to the World Health Organization, vaccine misinformation directly contributed to measles outbreaks across Europe and the US in 2023. And in the UK, nearly 45% of adults say they encounter fake news every single day. According to a survey from the University of Derby, that's not weekly, daily. Ofcom reports that 71% of UK adults now obtain their news online, just ahead of TV. 52% of UK adults use social media as a news source. That shift matters because platforms favor engagement, not accuracy. Trust in disinformation narratives 2025 revealed that participants in the UK and Spain were more likely to trust fake news items based on their narrative stance, emotional cues, and how they aligned with their identity, even when told whether the content was written by a human or by AI. That shows how deeply emotion and identity override facts. Statista data from 2024 also show that about 45% of UK adults admit they have shared something they later found out was false. These are not fringe problems. They shape votes, public safety, and trust in institutions. When people believe falsely, society pays the price. So what can you do? Evidence points to 5 strategies. 1. Pause before reacting. A 5-second delay cuts errors dramatically. That's from Stanford Behavioral Research in 2023. 2. Check the source. Reliable outlets have names, dates, and authors. Anonymous posts usually don't. 3. Ask who benefits. Misinformation almost always serves someone's agenda, political or financial. 4. Don't trust appearances. A lab coat, a confident voice, or a slick logo doesn't equal truth. 5. Verify citations. If a reference looks too perfect, double check. AI fabricated sources are now common. The truth isn't always viral, but it's out there if you slow down and look. If you enjoyed this, you should watch my last video on why Gen Z can't build wealth. Spoiler, it's totally by design. And in the next video, we'll follow the money, who profits, and what systems sustain them. We'll look at the business of misinformation. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you next time.